stuff over from England to have it transferred from PAL so you could watch the great interview with Chuck Zink, courtesy of him, as well as some great footage from NJN, as well as interviews with Caroline John, who spoke to us over the telephone. So please, with your pledge of financial support, we can continue to do this, but only with your pledge of financial support can we continue to do this. So please pick up that phone and make the call right now. You're about to see a very special tribute to John Pertwee. It is very heartfelt from all of us who knew and loved John. In fact, John, who was in very close communication with WXEL on some of his particular series, such as Warsaw Gummidge, and of course his episodes of Doctor Who. We dedicate this to you, and we will be here after this to take your pledges of financial support, but what you're about to see is a very special dedication from everybody here at the WXEL, all volunteer science fiction task force, from us to you, going out to John wherever you are.
The void beyond the mind, the empty space that circles time. I see where others stumble blind to seek a truth they never find. Eternal wisdom is my guide. I am the Doctor. Through cosmic waste the TARDIS flies to taste the secret source of life. A present science can't deny exists within, outside, behind the latitude of human minds. I am the Doctor. My voyage dissects the course of time. Who knows, you say, but are you right? Who searches deep to find the light that glows so darkly in the night? Toward that point I guide my flight. As fingers move to end mankind, metallic teeth begin their grind. With sword of truth I turn to fight the satanic powers of the night. Is your faith before your mind? Know me. Am I the Doctor?
You haven't been trying to play this, have you?
Patrick Troughton took it over and became a sort of pixie, which he's very good at, although he made the transition back into other parts very easily afterwards. It's very hard to describe Troughton. Whereas John was much more Holmesian, wasn't he? Very grand, and he's so shockingly recognizable, isn't he? He's rather like a tall light bulb, isn't he? Glitters.
Well, I was in the makeup room. We had to come in a little bit earlier to see what we'd both look like, and it was the first time I met him. And he was so sweet and charming and made me feel so welcome, and I was completely overawed. I'd been in classical theatre before then at the National Theatre with Sir Laurence Olivier, but this was an entirely new thing for me. So I was terribly frightened, but he was terribly good with me and put me at my ease. I mean, he was marvellous with all the actors and anyone new coming into it. He always took responsibly and was like a sort of father figure for us all, and took care of the actors especially. It was very quick turnover in television, and the actors come in and you do your bit, and it's the technical side of, well, in those days of Doctor Who, that was far the most important. If all that went right, everything was hunky-dory, but if you slipped up on your lines, nobody gave a damn. But he would always say, no, we'll have another take, I think. Let us have this one. So he was wonderful for me. He protected me in that respect. To have a twinkle in your eye and not be afraid to say what you think, and to go along, to be as professional and disciplined as he was, and look after your fellow actors. I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? And that's what I remember him for.
Sci-fi fans lost a good friend recently with the passing of John Pertwee. Tonight, we celebrate his memory. John had a fascinating career, and here he discusses his early days with Chuck Zink.
I can't remember when I've looked forward to meeting someone and having someone on this program. I've heard and enjoyed your work and heard so much about you. Are you a person who travels a lot to other parts of the world?
Tremendously, yes, because I'm a great wriggler. I never stick with one specific thing in show business. I started riding the Wall of Death when I was about 16, which is a motorcycle ride.
Oh, yes, really? Yeah.
And I worked in the circus and did bareback riding and all kinds of things. And then I was in repertory companies and tours, which took me all over the country. And then I was a straight actor. I was trained for the legitimate theatre. And then I became illegitimate after I was in the Navy and worked as a vaudevillian for many years. And then from vaudeville, of course, when that died, I went into cabaret, and cabarets travelled me all over the world. I worked still a great deal in Australia and New Zealand and in South Africa.
Now, when you say cabaret in America, that would be nightclubs or,
right.
or supper clubs.
That's exactly where I work. I don't like nightclubs because there are too many people and they're usually too ill-mannered.
Talking while you're performing.
Exactly. I won't have that.
You won't have that.
Far too much of an egotist.
A man that admits it is a good man, I say that.
John appeared in a variety of films, including The House That Drips Blood, Young Indiana Jones, and the Carry On films.
We'll very soon prove it. We can prove whether it was living membrane by giving it a very strong electrical charge.
There's been a shooting. Yeah, and there's 3 men laying dead out there. It's strange, I didn't hear nothing. I'm not surprised. You never have your thing in.
A little slower and a little lower, please, Miss Moore. Well, I remember Sean Sutton, who was the head of programs, and he was an old mate of mine. He and I had been in the West End. I was the youngest leading man in the West End, and he was the youngest stage manager, so we were pretty close friends. And he was the one who asked me to do it. And but when I asked him how he wanted it played, he said, "There's John Pertwee." And I said, "Well, who the hell's that?" Because I had no idea who I was, because I'd never been me. I was rather like my great friend, the late Peter Sellers, who always hid under a green umbrella himself. He'd never played himself in anything. He never wanted to, nor did I. And so when he asked me to do that, I didn't really know how to approach it at all, because I'd never ever been myself in anything.
How long did it take you to kind of sort that out and put it into...
Rather a long time, really, to be used to it, you know, to be comfortable with it. I wasn't comfortable with the idea at all. People were very good to me. My producers were very good to me. They gave me very free rein, which I didn't anticipate. I didn't expect that I'd get such free rein. I thought I was going to be held back. Thank the Lord, the original producer who'd suggested me to take the role left. Almost immediately I arrived, and his intention was that I should be what I was like in the lighter side of my profession, which is when I was working in vaudeville. Is that what you call it?
Vaudeville.
We call it music hall and variety. And I was working as a stand-up comic, and I used to play the guitar, and I satirized folk music, and I tumbled and fell about. And he evidently wanted me to play Doctor Who like that. Presumably because Pat had been a bit of a musical clown, and he thought this would be a nice little go on from that. But I didn't want to do anything like that at all. Once I'd given up music hall, I wanted to go back to being an actor. So I was very pleased, in fact, when Barry Letts took over, and I was able to play it the way that I wanted to under Barry's wing. He was, I say, very understanding, because he let me have free rein to my love of gadgetry and clothing, of course. The dress idea was mine. And as soon as I saw a gadget of any sort at all, something new in the motor show or the boat show, I'd ring up Barry and say, "I found a marvelous motorcycle that folds up into a briefcase." And he'd say, "Oh, terrific, you know, we'll have it in Doctor Who," and we did.
Do you remember very much about the early episodes that you shot, Spearhead and the Silurians and things
Yeah,
like that?
quite a bit, yes. I've got fairly good recall. But of course, when you work in a show like that, making as many programs as I made over that, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years, they all get rather jumbled up into one big memory. So you get a more of an overall impression than individual impressions.
What is your overall impression of Doctor Who during...
Oh, enormous fun, because my way of working was rather different from most people's. I think that to get the best out of actors, you want to make them laugh, and everybody being very happy and jovial. But of course, the management side of the business are inclined to disagree with that. They think you're wasting time, and they think you're wasting film, and so on. And so I got hauled over the coals a bit to begin with, because I didn't, to them, take things seriously enough. But eventually, they got to realize that, in fact, all the work was done, and it was coming out quite well.
Once you had become comfortable with the character you were going to play, what was your acting mindset as far as doing Doctor Who was concerned? And how did it differ from other acting jobs that you had had?
The pay was better. It was nice to be working in fantasy for a change. I don't know. I'm a jobbing actor. People often ask me, you know, what did I feel? What did I think when I was the Doctor and I met the maggots? What did I think? I didn't think anything except when, you know, how much longer we got before lunch. We're actors. We just do the job that's written down for you to do and say. I think a lot of people look too deeply into it and want to get into your head. Doctor Who was never right in my head. I was in my head, but not Doctor Who wasn't. And I endeavored to make it clear which was which.
Are you a fan of science fiction in general?
No. No, I have nothing to do with it at all. I've never read any of it before, and I've never read any of it since. It was an acting job, which I enjoyed very much.
Are you surprised at the fan response to the Doctor still? I mean, your Doctor has obviously stood the test of time.
I'm staggered, but we're all staggered by American fandom. It's quite different, you know. There's no comparison at all between fandom in England and fandom in the United States. For a start, their age is considerably higher in America. The average fan age in America, I think, is between 24 and 32 or something. In England, it's much, much younger. Or those that admit to it. You know, the English people don't admit to being fans. My present series, WXEL Gummidge, has, in fact, more adults than children watching it, as we had in Doctor Who. But they don't really admit to it, but when we do it on the stage, very often you'll see one very small child on the knee of 5 people sitting in the front row of the stalls. And I go up and say, hello, what are you doing here? And they'd say, well, we thought we'd just, you know, bring the grandchild to see you, you know, he likes your program. And I said, well, it takes 5 of you to bring him.
John's personal favourite role was WXEL Gummidge, the rascally scarecrow with a heart of gold.
Like a Wurzel?
Like a Wurzel, my dear, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Is that what Wurzel sounds like?
That's what Wurzel sounds like. Yeah, you better tell him who he is. So
Well, Wurzel Gummidge is the newest star of British television. This is the same gentleman, my friends, that you are looking at on the screen. Can you pull back a little, Debbie, and we'll compare them here. Here we are. Here.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, that's me. Look at more like that.
I love it. I love
We
it.
need all the straw and the twigs.
Where did you get the voice, John? Did you
voice
play around with it?
No, the voice is, in fact, a character that I used to do on the radio years and years and years ago, called the Postman. And he had a catchphrase, which was the time of catchphrases. He used to say always at the end of his spot was, wow, what does it matter what you do so long as you tear him up? And that became a catchphrase. Everybody said this in these situations.
What's that again? Say it again.
Wow, what does it matter what you do so long as you tear him up? You know, what does it matter in life what you do as long as you let it rip, you know?
Isn't it great?
And this was a phrase everybody used.
Yeah.
There were catchphrases. I had a stuttering character. I had a man who stuttering. His name was Commander.
I'm not going to ask you what his name is.
Oh, to hell with it, will you?
To hell with it, yeah.
And he talked like that, and he had a catchphrase which was that's right, yes. And so irrespective of what anybody said, he said, that's right, yes. And this caught all these voices, these caught on, and this was how it happened. And then about 8-9 years ago, when I was doing a quiz program called Who Done It, which is a very successful crime quiz in England, which started in America. But you see, you make a terrible mistake in America. You see our programs, say they're good, say we want that program, and then you buy that program, and instead of letting your public see the program that we present to you, you change the whole thing, and you completely cast it, and this breaks our hearts. And
That's true, though.
We're getting very upset about it, because it means all our best shows, which you buy because of their quality, you don't allow to be seen because you put your own people in them, and you alter all the dialogue, and no longer are they therefore
Could not agree with you. Archie Bunker, which is one of the biggest. It was
magnificent, yeah.
Yes.
The one of the three in the flat, keep it in the family, then I can't
All in the
remember
family,
American names.
yeah.
But there are so many of them, and we won't let that happen with Wurzel. But they have tried to in fact buy the rights, but we won't have it.
People love Wurzel.
Well,
I love the name Wurzel.
Wurzel. Well, the Wurzel is a mangle Wurzel, you see. That's a turnip.
Wurzel's a turnip. You have me talking that way.
Oh, that's it. Turn it. Have a go at it. Good.
Okay, we're down in the
That's it. Down there. That's through the nose.
In the nose, we got it. Wurzel. All right. Okay.
John Pertwee, thanks for the adventure.
Well, that was our very special tribute to John Pertwee. We hope you enjoyed it. We were only able to bring you that very special look done exclusively by WXEL because of the financial support of members in the past. It has been an incredible 2 years of science fiction adventure on WXEL, and it was made possible and continues to be made possible exclusively by you, the members of WXEL.